Okay, so I've got a lot of books on my Kindle and I read my Kindle all the time. But over the last 6 months, I've started reading physical copies of as many books as I can. And I think there are at least 7 good reasons to do that, whatever your goals with reading are. So in this video, we're going to talk about how physical books can help you read faster, expose yourself to more ideas, and enjoy the process of reading more. But let's start out with maybe the most important thing, which is you actually remember what you read. And okay, on some level, I think this might seem counterintuitive. One of the things I liked most about my Kindle when I first got it was that it's so easy to take notes, which you can then access from basically wherever you are in the world with no need to have a physical book with you. But actually, this simplicity can almost work against you. It's kind of too easy to highlight stuff on Kindle, which can mean that firstly, you end up with a load of unnecessary notes that are kind of tough to review, and secondly, you don't actually spend that much time thinking about what you've read. So I sometimes write notes as I'm reading a physical book, but what I usually do is dog-ear or post-it note the pages I like, and then go back to the book a few days after I finish it to review those marks and write out the quotes that really speak to me in like a physical notebook. And I found that these extra steps help me remember stuff, but there's also some study-based evidence that physical books help comprehension. So for instance, a meta-analysis of 33 studies found that people who read things on paper not only understand what they are reading better, but perform better on tests connected to it. Some researchers think that the sensory inputs from reading a book, which might include like feeling its weight, touching its pages, or smelling them, helps us process the information in them. But you might also just focus more, which brings us to point 2, which is you get less distracted. So I still read quite a lot on my phone. I've always got it with me when I'm on the move, and it's easy to flick through pages on it one-handed when I'm in like a queue at a coffee shop or standing on a train. The problem with phones, obviously, is that you're only ever about 2 clicks away from a whole world full of distracting stuff. And loads of it's been precision engineered to be distracting and addictive to your brain in a way that physical books just can't ever hope to be. When I read on my phone, I find myself constantly sort of wanting to do something else because my brain knows that there's this whole world of dopamine stimulation just a couple of thumb swipes away. If I leave all my devices in another room or just in my bag when I'm reading a book, I get way less distracted. Physical books also give you like a visual reminder to read. If you pile them up on your desk or next to your bed, they're always there kind of reminding you to read them in a way that ebooks don't really do. And also, you can read faster if you want to. And this is one where I don't think the evidence is as clear-cut, because I have seen some people saying that being able to choose like the font size and brightness of their screens on an e-reader makes their reading speed go up. But there is at least some research suggesting that you read faster when you read on paper, possibly because it's easier to keep your sense of orientation on the page. So if you've tried learning to speed read, you're probably familiar with the idea of saccades, which are the rapid eye movements you use to change the section of a page you've focused on, and you might have tried training your peripheral vision to register more words in each saccade. Personally, I don't worry about speed reading because I don't feel like I retain the information as well when I do it, but I do find that reading physical books helps me scan pages more efficiently, which means if I'm reading for pure information rather than the enjoyment of a really good book, I can get through it faster. There's also what I call the flippy effect, which basically means you can riffle through the pages of a physical book and like remind yourself of the outline of it a lot faster than you can on like a Kindle or even the app on your phone or desktop. By the way, if you'd like to know more about what I'm reading, I've got a free newsletter where I share what I'm reading every week, as well as like actionable lessons from it. But also, you enjoy reading more. And I don't know, maybe this is just me, but there's something about cracking open a physical book that you just can't match with reading on an e-reader. I think part of it is that instead of just looking at words on a screen, you feel connected to this physical, tangible thing that a lot of people have spent a lot of time putting out into the world, with a cover that they've spent a lot of time thinking about, and maybe a font that they've chosen specifically because it like matches the tone and themes of the book or whatever. Some of my favourite books of all time, like House of Leaves and Infinite Jest, just aren't anywhere near as fun to read on an e-reader because they're designed to be physical experiences. And even books like The Story of Art or Robert Sapolsky's Behave are just much more enjoyable to read as books because you can enjoy the illustrations and read them the way the author intended. I've heard people say that ebooks are kind of like Skyping a friend who you really love. It's like a great facsimile experience, but it's not quite the same thing. But maybe this one's just me, I don't know. And another one that might just be me is you can share them more easily. And listen, I know that you can technically share ebooks, but there's something brilliant about being able to give a book to a friend or share reading it with them, or maybe just leave it in a cafe or like a hotel somewhere for someone to hopefully find and enjoy. I've actually found a ton of books I've loved this way, and that kind of relates to the next point, which is you get exposed to more ideas. So obviously it's easy to browse books on Amazon or online, but there's nothing quite like browsing was in a physical bookshop or a library, for letting you explore different ideas and get exposed to them in kind of a natural, serendipitous way. Online, obviously, it's very easy to find what you're already looking for. But in a shop, you might see a book you've never heard of before and pick it up because of its cover, or because somebody from the shop's left a little note by it to explain why it's so good. It's also just a lot easier to flip through physical books in a shop than it is to get a sense of what you're getting into from the little free sample you get from ebooks. You can kind of flip around and see if you like the writing, or just flick to a random page and see if something's happening that grabs you. I also think that physical books are a handy kind of memory aid, or almost like a memory palace. If you've got 500 books on Kindle, it's kind of easy to forget what's in them. But if you've got them on your shelves, every time you look at that shelf, it's kind of a tiny little reminder that you once read that book and what it was about. And that brings us to the final reason I love physical books. You don't have to pick one or the other. And this is the key, really. I still read on e-readers and in physical books because I read all the time. If I go on a work trip, I'm not going to pack 6 books in my bag, but if it's 10 PM, I don't really want to flick through the pages on an e-reader. Usually I buy physical copies of fiction and books I'm reading for fun, but if I'm buying a book just for the information, then I might buy it on Kindle, so I've got a ready reference to it wherever I am in the world. And really, that's what I recommend. Have books on your bedside table. Have them on the side table instead of like a PlayStation controller or a remote control. Have them loaded up on an e-reader that you carry everywhere with you so you can read in any moment of your downtime. Just read a load of books. And if you want to read more, then I've got a video about how to do that right here. Thank you very much for watching.